The year was 1962. When a dream was born, a dream to make an impact, a dream to power people, technology, future, a dream to be part of our nation's dream of unyielding, immeasurable growth. Meet Cummins India, a power solution provider, a global technology leader that is carrying forward the 100-year legacy of Cummins Inc.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to Trans India. Real people, real emotions. You would have got a hint of what we will be discussing today. The automobile industry has been going through a lot of turbulence in the last few years, with the waves of environmental norms rocking their boat every now and then. In fact, one of their biggest challenges is to keep pace with the requirements of the government, who are trying to clean up the environment in the shortest possible time and perhaps also the fastest in the world. India moved from BS III to BS IV and then leaped to BS VI in the shortest time ever. However, that is not the end of the road for emission upgrades. India is now moving to BS VI Phase 2, also known as OBD2, which comes into effect from April 1, 2023. The heart of any vehicle is the engine, and a lot of changes in the engine design result in reduction of emission. In fact, many transporters have been suggesting that instead of scrapping the truck or the vehicle altogether, the government should consider just changing or upgrading the engine to cut down emission. Cummins Group in India is a leading power solutions technology provider that designs, manufactures, distributes and services engines and related technologies including fuel systems, air handling, filtration, emission solutions and electrical power generation systems. A preferred engine and after-treatment solution provider for leading Indian commercial vehicle OEMs, Cummins has adopted the globally proven SCR technology and has pioneered clean air technologies in the country since their launch in the BS IV era in April 2017. To know more about the changing engine technology, we visited the Cummins Tech Center in Pune and interacted with Mr. Mohan Ramachandran, Commercial Director, Engine Business and Engine and Components Aftermarket, Cummins India. Mohan has been a veteran in the automobile industry and he understands the commercial vehicle segment very well. Let's get into our interaction with Mohan Ramachandran at the Cummins Technology Center in Pune.
After the pandemic, Indian commercial vehicle has undergone a very strong recovery, and as you can see that every year the industry is growing at the back of the government spend of infrastructure. So this boost is really helping, plus the emission change has led to a lot of newer vehicles, new technology vehicles which has improved the efficiency. Then there are fundamental improvement in terms of the road infrastructure which is leading to faster transit. Overall the e-commerce movement which is really adding a lot of speed and a lot of mileages to the trucks. And we see a very strong recovery and overall it's good for commercial vehicle industry. So EV is definitely going to be adopted in India. The question remains that what is the efficiency which EV brings about, and right now we see that with the infrastructure for EV coming up, it makes sense in the smaller commercial vehicles. But as we go higher up, we will have to see how it balances the available payload with the time taken between two charges, the infrastructure thereby, and therefore the overall efficiency and the cost economics. So it will take some time to play out this market, but EV penetration would again have to compete with alternate fuels like hydrogen and with fuel cell and with natural gas. And one has to see how they are efficient and in the long term, because what matters for the fleet is the total cost of ownership, and total cost of ownership is beyond the initial cost. It is the running and operating cost and towards then the salvage value, and the ownership period is pretty long, from 8 years to 15 years. So whichever fuel type or whichever technology can provide that kind of efficiency, one can see them getting adopted faster. So the transition from BS2 to BS6 has been over a decade, and obviously the industry has taken it well from BS2 to BS3 to BS4. But what we see is from the transition from BS4 to BS6 happened quite quickly. We had almost about 1,000 days or only 1,000 days to manage this transition, and subsequently I'm glad to say that Cummins has made this transition easy for its stakeholders, particularly the end users, the customers. And that's why what we did was we made the technology easy for the end user. And you would have seen our campaign Jo Saral Wo Safal, and primarily we are talking about how the owner, the fleet owner, for him the reliability is assured, so he gets his guaranteed peace of mind because he does not have to worry about the uptime. The technology ensures, and Cummins is known for its reliability and hence the uptime which comes with the engine system. For the mechanics, it is parts availability, it is the service availability, and the easy understanding of the engine. So which is saral for him, which is not complicated, which is giving him the right diagnostics to understand where the faults are, where the fault codes are. And for the driver, it is access in the dashboard, easy driving, and getting the maximum fuel efficiency and a very reliable engine which guarantees him uptime when he's driving. So this is how the combination of Cummins makes it Jo Saral Wo Safal. And to provide this holistic customer experience, we have over the years built a network of services, and we have our component care centers, around 200 plus, which support them in terms of providing easy repair facilities of turbos, of dozers, of after treatment systems, of ETVs, and which makes it not only affordable but easily accessible, which means whenever there is a component failure, the component can get replaced hand to hand, part to part immediately, and the vehicle is on road. So that makes it very easy and accessible. So we have these component care centers spread across the country in all the trucking locations. And to back this up, we have digitally enabled, or we have leveraged the digital economy, and we have a Sati app which is meant for the drivers, which provides the training inputs to the drivers in terms of making him aware of this new technology, making him aware of the fault codes, and making him aware of do's and don'ts, so that he can easily adopt, and it can make his life not only saral but asan for him. And that's the overall objective which we have driven. And during this transition, what we have ensured is that we contribute to the nation's drive of clean fuel, and thereby our approach has been towards supporting the decarbonization move by introducing products which are technologically advanced and which are fuel agnostic, and which supports the cleaner and greener fuel. So on ground training, we have a team of about 200 engineers who are again spread out across the country, who support all the OEM dealerships, and they train their trainers, and together they deliver the training to all the mechanics, to the drivers. Like in the BS6, for all the fleet operators who had purchased more than 5 vehicles, and where we know that drivers keep changing, we have an ongoing program of training the drivers, and our engineers go visit the fleet operators, conduct these training programs on an ongoing basis, and that we have to do repeated trainings so that they are well versed, and that makes life easier not only for them but for their owner. And along with the OEM dealerships and their drivers, we train not only the fleet operator drivers, but also we extend it to the bodybuilder, so that we train them on do's and don'ts of while they are doing the bodybuilding, so that the right amount of I would say integrity is maintained with the wiring harness, and the repeatability of the performance is ensured. So we do a lot of work along with the OEMs, and that's the strength the OEMs leverage with us, which is our service network. And we have about more than 50 to 100 placed in this facility, which provides infant care support to the OEMs, which immediately diagnoses any problem which comes out and does the root cause analysis, and then sets about the interim and the permanent solutions. Cummins brings in a lot of global experience of working in Europe, North America, China and various other regions. And that gives us a lot of perspective about how the globally the emission is moving in the coming years. And if you can see that from the BS IV to the future that we have, what we believe is making the transition seamless, and that's why we have the fuel agnostic concept, be it diesel or natural gas or hydrogen ICE, as you can see. So what we say is that this part of the engine, which is the bottom part of the engine, remains similar, be it diesel or natural gas, and where we change is the head, which is the fuel delivery system, and this manages the different fuels. So that makes the transition a simpler affair from a manufacturability point of view, from an adoption point of view, from a continuity point of view. So what Cummins brings is the simplicity of the transition towards the zero emission era by decarbonizing using different fuels, and that's our strategy to manage the transition from a technology point of view. From a service support point of view, from a part support point of view, obviously we have a whole lot of offerings, and we believe that the entire powertrain can be better integrated, be it the integrated powertrain with the gearbox and with the automated manual transmission or with the automatic transmission. Subsequently, we have the entire powertrain being managed by providing a control system which can bring the best output out of the powertrain. So for a customer, what matters is number one, he need not be too overrun by the technology, okay, and it must be easy for him to maintain that new technology, which means the parts should be accessible, it should be affordable to him, and today most customers want modular in terms of serviceability, and most important is for him it has to be efficient in terms of the overall cost economics. So we have seen that from the time we have transitioned across the emission, including from BS IV to BS VI OBD1 and now to OBD2, we see that the cost economics only improve, and there is a combination of factors which help beyond the fuel efficiency. It is also the change interval in terms of the service interval. So we reduce or increase the service interval so that he has to visit lesser number of times to the workshop, and thereby his vehicle can be up and running most of the times, and that's how he gets the advantage. So for him, as long as the initial cost burden is minimum, the owning and operating cost is not overwhelming, and he is getting a more efficient output, he is happy. And that's the attempt which all of us together with the OEMs we drive when we are not only addressing the emission change but bringing in newer technology to the benefit of the operator. So BS VI OBD1 to OBD2 actually brings down the emission, and the specific focus there is the NOx, which comes down from 1.5 to 1.2, the threshold level, and that's the control part. And you can see here our labs, and that's where we have experimented and demonstrated how the NOx sensor can be reduced. So the change is primarily in terms of how we manage the combustion so that the NOx levels are lower as prescribed by the threshold levels. And to do that, we have to control pressure, we have to control temperature, we have to understand the flow of NOx, and all this happens in our after treatment system, which is embedded with lot of sensors. And all these sensors are again undergoing a change from OBD1 to OBD2, and these sensors are generation 4 sensors with better detecting ability and better reliability. And thereby, once we sense what we need to do with the emission to bring down the NOx, we create a recipe which is unique and what we call the overall combustion management 2.0. So this is an entirely different, I would say, effort in terms of managing the chemical factory behind the engine. And you can see the labs around me which do the prototyping and the testing, and we actually demonstrate it in the field. So OBD2 is also about the in-service compliance or the real driving emission that we demonstrate in the field, in the actual vehicle, to deliver the regulated amount, the threshold level which is prescribed. And that is the change from OBD1 to OBD2. So to put it simply, OBD1 to OBD2, we need to demonstrate that the emissions actually in usage. So in the engine, because of this change, the after treatment system undergoes change in terms of the sensors, in terms of the entire calibration strategy, in terms of how the signals are read, the inputs of air pressure, temperature, overall flow, and then it is managed to deliver and optimize the emission, which is the least output. So that's the change. So you have component level changes, and these are the components which are tested in our labs, which are prototyped and which are made emission compliant. So we have a list of components which we call as EUL components, which is emission useful life, which is guaranteed to meet the emission useful life as prescribed by the regulation. So those changes are done in the component level, and together they form the engine system and the management of the emission by way of a calibration which is different than what is in OBD1. So it has always been that you get the best output when you go to the person who knows, right? So any person who can understand the technology, which is the emission management by keeping or repairing the product so that the emission useful life is intact, is according to me the right person to go to. And that takes time to develop that knowledge and to develop that infrastructure, because you require tools and equipments, which means you require diagnostic tools to detect the fault codes, the current levels of emission, and then accordingly repair it. And that requires a sophisticated, I would say, repair center, which we have provided by way of our component care centers. And there are trained technicians to do that. So transporters can avail of those facilities at a very affordable price, because he can either get it repaired, or he can pick up a recon or a reconditioned component, or he can buy a new one at affordable rate. And that will ensure that the emission which was targeted to be achieved is intact and maintained throughout the life of the vehicle, thereby contributing toward the environment. We have started training all the technicians and the mechanics at the dealerships. Okay, so we have trained their trainers, and they in turn have started training the technicians of how to manage this change, what are the changes in the engine level, what is the changes in the after treatment system. And subsequently, once the product is launched, the drivers and the vehicle operators or their owners would be trained in terms of what are the key changes, what are the specifications, what are the do's and don'ts, and how do they actually maintain the vehicle and the engine specifically, so that they can ensure that the emission is intact and they get the best efficiency, which is the intent of this change also. The end user is going to get benefited by way of better fuel efficiency and higher service intervals, which is going to reduce his cost. And what we have done is with the CBM 2.0, we have also tuned it to the duty cycle. So The customer gets the advantage in terms of having a very specific calibration as per his duty cycle, and apart from the service interval which is higher, he gets an overall advantage of the total cost of operations. So that's one big take for the customer. So fleet who have their own in-house workshop, okay, we support them, including the OEM. We support them in giving and prescribing the scheduled maintenance, and while within warranty, they obviously come to the OEM workshop for addressing any related issue. But beyond that, we support them by the know-how, by telling them and giving them proactive support of understanding the diagnostics and prescribing them how they can get corrected, how they can maximize the TCO by giving them and consulting them their workshop, and they can work with the OEM and their workshop together to enhance the delivery of the vehicle. So what we have here is more than 2,000 engineers working in this technical center, and we have more than 36 test cells, as you can see, where the engine is tested, post the architecture is developed, and then it is put onto the vehicle. So we have our engineers working here on almost round the clock, because at any point of time they are catering to the global requirements. So this is a global technical center, and the engineers do work for all the emission norms which are coming up in rest of the globe, and that's one of the knowledge that Cummins brings in to India in terms of advanced countries and their movement in their emission journey, and our experience with those emissions is what we get to India. So at any given point of time, we have more than 2,000 engineers working here. As they say, this is almost a 24/7 center. This is where we bring in all our Cummins experience to bring the best for the customer, enhanced productivity, better profitability, and overall a peace of mind when he uses a Cummins product. It's a futuristic test center, because right now we are doing work for all the future technologies here, be it what is going to come on in Europe, which is Euro 7, and similarly in India, going forward, whatever norms are going to come for fuel efficiency, we are already working on them. We are working on fuel agnostic platforms. We are working on H2 ICE. We are working on fuel cell. We are working on gas technologies. So there are multiple things concurrently that we are working upon, and which are all forward looking. And how do we harness those technologies and make it affordable and make it easy to adopt, so that we continue our journey of jo saral wo safal. The future from here on is definitely up, the way I see it, because India is really underpenetrated in terms of the truck, and the logistics cost is still one of the highest in the world. And there is a big opportunity to improve the logistics efficiency, and with the golden quadrilateral and the rural connectivity, the water connectivity, and with the freight corridors, we definitely see a lot of improvements in the logistics scenario. And what I can foresee is that India is a country which will attract a lot of different modes of transportation, be it sea, land or rail, and they coexist in a manner which can give the efficiency and thereby adopt new technology. And when I talk about new technology, we would be seeing a lot of changes within the new technology because of adoption of alternate fuels, be it the LNG apart from diesel, or the electric, or the fuel cell, or the hydrogen ICE engines. So over next decade and couple of decades further, I definitely foresee a lot of activity in the commercial vehicle industry adopting new technology, while at the same time improving the efficiency and bringing the logistics cost efficiently.
Well friends, it was a delight visiting the Cummins Technical Center in Pune and actually getting to see what is happening in there. There is so much technology upgradation that Cummins is working on, keeping in mind the future of truck technology and also alternate fuels. We are thankful to Mohan for sharing his experience, his knowledge, and giving us insights into what Cummins has in store for the future. We will be back again next week with another very exciting interaction that will be educational as well as an eye-opener for many of us. So until next week, stay safe. Jai Hind.